Recently, I've been using it more as a creative outlet rather than like consume, which I think is kind of the point. My name's Lisa. I do a lot of different things, actually. I'm a part-time graduate student. I'm getting my MBA at NYU. I am a product manager at a startup, and I am also a part-time research associate for a consulting firm.
Nice. So you're not busy at all. You have a lot of free time.
Super chill, yeah.
Yeah. Tell me your Sublime origin story. Like, how did you hear about it? What?
So I think I used to use it as like an alternative for doom scrolling, and I still love that. Like, I love that I can go on there and find like high quality ideas that doesn't make me feel like my brain is rotting all the time. But I will say that I feel like recently I've been using it more as like a creative outlet rather than like to consume, which I think is kind of the point. So I feel like I'm using it right.
Say more about that. Like, what does that mean, a creative outlet?
I do a lot of work on the future of different industries, platforms, worlds even, like all these different things, how they could look like 3, 5, 10, 20 years down the line. And I feel like I've been using Sublime recently as a way to help me see around corners. And that has been the most enlightening way for me to use it thus far.
How does it do that? Or how do you do that? How do you look around? Try to look around corners.
I think that in all aspects of my life, the biggest lessons for me have been to look at the bigger picture. I tend to be somebody who can get very obsessive about things, and I get lost in the sauce quite often. So it is so important to take a step back and take a breather. And Sublime helps me do that. Specifically, the canvas function helps me do that. I have always been a fan of like Miro, but it was a little bit too complicated for my taste. I love how simple Sublime is. I feel like I'm working alongside it rather than the tech is like working me. Like sometimes I feel like Miro is like just shoving all these new like features. God. I'm like, I don't need this. Like, I just want to draw a line. I don't need this.
Do you use the extension?
All the time. That's usually how I import most of the information that I have onto Sublime, is through the extension. That particular like feature, whatever you want to call it, is probably one of the most life-changing things about Sublime to me, because it makes things so seamless, especially with all the different things I have going on. I always feel like I have to switch contexts, and that like deep work can be interrupted all the time. When I first started using the extension, I was like, I must fit this into a particular category. I definitely trained myself to just save stuff, whatever resonates, whatever sets a spark off in my mind, I will just save it. And then I find that when I go back, I will put it together. Either like I'll just look through it, or I will put it into a canvas. I think better visually. And that's when I can kind of take a breather and step back and see the bigger picture, which then kind of helps me see around corners, I would say. Okay, so I have this collection called What AI Can't Do. A lot of my research concerns emerging technologies. So a lot of the stuff that I've been thinking about is, how do we differentiate ourselves, which I think every single person online seems to be talking about right now. That's not a new thing. But there are some interesting questions that come from that. And I think that this collection has been revealing more questions than answers, which to me feels like what I'm looking for. I don't need more information. I need more questions. I need better questions. We need to be asking better questions so that we can tell better stories about these things. There's more than enough discourse on AI and tech and every website is, let me make this like new thing for you, and like, let me, I can do all these things for you, and like, I can think for you and write for you, and like take a shit for you. Sorry, excuse me. Like, whatever. But like, you know what I mean? Like, do everything for you. Yeah. Whatever. That's like, that's like in abundance. We don't need more of that. We need better questions about how we want to regulate it, how it concerns privacy, how it concerns all of these bigger sort of not technological, but more philosophical questions, I would say. Being able to connect the dots myself, like literally, like on like a canvas, for example, even if the connections don't make sense to other people, they might to me. And that's what's important, because that's what helps you form new ideas and is basically connecting the dots across things that are seemingly unrelated. It shows you new possibilities of like what things could be. And that's super important to me, both personally and professionally. To be able to see the bigger picture, like you got to be able to like let go of like certain things. And I feel like Sublime makes that really easy, because it can live in this like one big thing, but you're still like, you still have access to it and you can go back to it if you want to, but you have these like little microcosms and you're like basically building worlds in a bigger world. Yeah.
All right, cool. Are you ready to do the speed round?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. What is the last thing that blew your mind?
The idea of anti-mimetics, which is a idea with a sort of self-censoring property.
Okay, what is the last thing you watched on YouTube?
A documentary by Mary Oxman on the intersection between nature and humanity.
Besides Sublime, what's a tool or app you can't live without?
Apple Notes.
Do you have a healthy relationship with the internet?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
You're the first person that has said yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like really proud of my relationship with the internet.
Tell me more. I need to learn everything.
I love my media diet. I love the corners of the internet I live on. Like I feel like I have built a universe for myself that I feel happy in and I feel stimulated by. And I'm very confident in my relationship with the internet, and it's very healthy.
Okay, last question. It's hard to explain Sublime because it's a lot of things. How would you explain it to a friend? How would you describe Sublime?
It is something kind of like a mycelial network, but for ideas is how I would describe it. The ideas are meant to be shared and saved and distributed. And if they change and take their own forms along the way, and if you take whatever you need from it and you make something out of it yourself, that feels regenerative. It feels like biomimicry. It feels like nature, you know?